There's been a massive fire near the Mundka Metro Station in the national capital. A commercial building has caught fire and at least 26 people have reportedly died in this fire. 40 people have been hospitalized with burn injuries as a 3-storied commercial building caught fire. Authorities telling NDTV at the moment that the death count they fear is expected to only rise. Akshay Dongre joins us on the phone line with the very latest. Akshay, what more can you tell us about the rescue operations at this hour?
Well, Rishika, the rescue operations are still going on. The police as well as fire tenders have been pressed into action as far as the report of this fire is concerned. According to police, a PCR call was received by police at around 4:45 p.m. today at the police station of Mundka, where a fire was reported, and the police as well as the other agencies, including the fire brigade, were pressed into action. There were 9 fire tenders who are present at the spot and trying to douse the fire as far as this massive fire is concerned. But the efforts are still on to douse the fire and to rescue people who are still trapped inside. As far as the police information is concerned, the police officials who reached at the spot first, they tried to break the windows of this particular building. Now, this building in Mundka is a multi-storied building which is usually used for office spaces for companies, and the fire started at the first floor of this particular building, which in fact engulfed the entire building soon after, and that is how so many casualties are being reported. 26 bodies have been recovered about till 11 p.m. and the police claims that the number is likely to go up as rescue operations are still going on. They are also trying to recover bodies from other floors because it is also a challenging task for the police forces to in fact reach and search the entire building. So search is also going on. They are trying to douse the fire completely so that if anybody is trapped inside the building, they can be rescued. But this in fact is a very, very massive fire that in fact started. So the investigation will only reveal that what exactly was cause of the fire. But as far as preliminary information is concerned, the fire started at the first floor of this particular building. So 26 bodies have been recovered till 11 p.m. and the number is likely to go up according to the police because a search is right now going on for more bodies. Ambulances have been stationed at this building. Outside this building, fire tenders are there to douse the fire. So while police as well as the fire brigade is trying their best to douse the fire, it may be too late as far as rescuing many people who may be trapped in the building are concerned, Rishika.
All right. Well, Akshay, thanks very much for joining us with those details. It's a story we're going to continue to track very closely, as Akshay is saying. Sources in the fire department as well as the Delhi police at the moment fearing that this death toll could actually be much, much higher. It is a massive fire that is being reported, at least 26 dead and over 40 people hospitalized with injuries. A whole host of tweets, the Delhi Chief Minister, Prime Minister Modi, the President of India, Rajnath Singh, among others, all tweeting their shock and pain and, of course, expressing solidarity with the bereaved families and wishing for speedy recovery of those injured. Let's just listen in to what the Deputy Chief Fire Officer of the Delhi Fire Service, Sunil Chaudhary, has had to say at the moment.
ये सीसीटीवी का गोडाउन था और उसी का ऑफिस था, उसी से
पूरी बिल्डिंग में सर या फिर
पूरी बिल्डिंग
महिलाएं भी थी सर इसमें जो रेस्क्यू हुई?
हाँ, कुछ महिलाएं भी हैं। फायर फाइटिंग तो पूरी हो चुकी है 2 घंटे से, उसके बाद से हम सर्च ही कर रहे हैं क्योंकि लोगों ने बताया कि शायद काफ़ी लोग के अंदर, तो अभी ज़्यादा जो एम्फेसिस है वो सर्चिंग के ऊपर।
Well, another unfortunate fire that we're reporting on. 4 passengers died and 20 others were injured after a bus that they were travelling in caught fire near Katra in Jammu. The bus was carrying Vaishno Devi pilgrims and was on its way from Katra to Jammu when it suddenly caught fire. The police said that there are forensic experts that were rushed to the spot and they've of course tried to ascertain the cause of this deadly fire. Well, on to the big political focus now. The Congress's 3-day Chintan Shivir began in Udaipur today. The party has declared that there are going to be some major changes that are going to be made in the organisation, including a 50% reservation for those below the age of 50. There's also going to be a one-ticket, one-family scheme, with the exception of the Gandhis and any family member who's actually worked in the party for 5 years. Sonia Gandhi has called for a Chintan at a national level and an introspection at a party level. Here's the full report.
On the many tasks ahead of us. So it is both a chintan about national issues, and a meaningful Atma Chintan about our party organization. Most painfully clear what Prime Minister Modi and his colleagues really mean by their frequently repeated slogan, maximum governance, minimum government, keeping the country in a state of permanent polarization, compelling people to live in a constant state of fear. It means glorifying the killers of Mahatma Gandhi and their ideologues. It means more empty slogans, diversionary tactics, and utter silence on the part of an ever so eloquent Prime Minister when the healing touch is most needed.
The Congress train pulled into Udaipur with 400 delegates and a lot on its agenda, but nothing officially on the critical issue of leadership. Sonia Gandhi has been interim president for 3 years. Her son Rahul Gandhi resigned after the 2019 election debacle, but continues to call the shots.
हर संगठन को न केवल जीवित रहने के लिए बल्कि बढ़ने के लिए भी समय समय पर अपने अंदर परिवर्तन लाने होते हैं. हमें सुधारों की सख्त जरूरत है.
The party is now proposing a big reform. One family, one ticket, but with a loophole. One that allows Priyanka Gandhi Vadra to also get a ticket along with others in the party's first family.
It should not be that suddenly a senior leader wants his family, some member from his family to contest, and suddenly he gets the ticket without any work in the party. So in order to ensure that the party leaders, they do not give ticket to their kins or to their relatives without any work in the party.
The one family, one ticket principle is a revolutionary step and clearly will be difficult to implement. And there is definitely a caveat, especially for political dynasts, including the Gandhi family, where they have made an exception that those who have been active in the party for the last 5 years will be exempt from that principle.
The 3-day brainstorming session is only the second such since the Congress's worst ever string of losses began in 2014. The road ahead for the Congress is not easy. It lost 4 assembly elections earlier this year and it faces the test in another 2 later this year, Himachal and Gujarat. And what's going to be an even bigger challenge, the only 2 states the Congress is in power in, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, will go to the polls in 2023. Will the party be able to reinvent itself before that? With Sunil Prabhu in Udaipur, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
Well, moving on, there's been massive outrage over the killing of a Kashmiri Pandit, Rahul Bhatt, who was shot at point-blank range at a government office, a Tehsil office in Budgam. There have been massive protests on the streets of Jammu and Kashmir, with protesters demanding more security for Kashmiri Pandits. Those protesters were today lathi-charged and tear gas. There have been a spate of targeted killings in the valley. 2 killings in the last 2 days alone, with a Jammu and Kashmir police official Riaz Ahmad also shot dead by terrorists at his home today.
Tear gas, lathis against grieving and angry Kashmiri Pandit protesters in Srinagar. Since yesterday, they've blocked the Srinagar-Budgam road. Even threatened to block the road to the airport, shouting slogans against the centre and the state. Even the LG for the failure to protect Pandits. Protesting Kashmiri Pandits forcing the district magistrate of Budgam to leave their protest site in Shehlpora, reflecting the anger against the government after terrorists killed 36-year-old Rahul Bhatt inside the local Tehsil office. Rahul was a clerk in the Revenue Department, appointed in 2010 under the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's employment scheme for Kashmiri Pandit migrants. He leaves behind a grieving family, old parents, his wife and a 7-year-old daughter. As the protests continue in the valley, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha met the family in Jammu.
हालात बद से बदतर होते जा रहे हैं, जहां मरकजी सरकार अपनी नाकामियां छुपाने के लिए हिंदू मुसलमानों को आपस में लड़ाने का खेल खेल रही है। ऐसे में तमाम जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों पे ये फर्ज आयद होता है कि हम जो हमारे बीच में रहने वाले, चाहे वो कश्मीरी पंडित हो, चाहे हमारे सरदार भाई हो, ये आज हम अपने माइनॉरिटीज के साथ यहाँ खड़े रहें।
कल उसको दफ्तर में गोली मारी गई है, ऑफिस में बैठकर, और नाम पुकार कर गोली मारी गई है। पहले नाम से पुकारा, राहुल भट्ट कौन है, उसके बाद गोली मारी गई। पिस्टल निकाला, पिस्टल से फायर किया। हम बोलते हैं कि इंक्वायरी हो, सही कमीशन बैठे, इसमें सही पता करे कि ये कैसे हुआ।
क्या मदद पहले क्या हो गया बेचारे को, फिर वापस बेचारा चला गया। बेचारा क्या करो, इतना ऐसा था उसको बेचारे को।
Bhatt was singled out and shot by 2 terrorists while he was sitting in his office in the Tehsildar's chambers. Since the shooting, over 4,000 Kashmiri Pandit government employees are holding multiple protests. They have threatened mass resignations if they are not immediately transferred to safe places in Jammu instead of serving in Kashmir under the constant fear of being targeted. In the last 7 months, 3 Pandits have been killed and 2 others injured in targeted attacks.
गवर्नमेंट का आखिर प्लान क्या है, गवर्नमेंट आखिर चाहती क्या है? कल राहुल जी को वो ऑफिस में, मजिस्ट्रेट के ऑफिस में नहीं बचा पाए, तो हम जैसे लोगों को जो कश्मीर वैली में ओवरऑल गुलमर्ग, पहलगाम, अनंतनाग, साउथ, उड़ी, गुरेज तक हमारे लोग हैं सर, हमारे इंजीनियर्स, हमारे पैकेज, उन लोगों को जब सेफ्टी ने, तो हम लोगों को क्या है सर?
And today, another special police officer was shot and killed by terrorists in his home. Since October last year, there have been series of targeted attacks on migrant workers, Kashmiri Pandits, Panchayat members and policemen.
Rahul Bhatt was among first Kashmiri Pandits who returned in 2010 as part of Prime Minister's Special Employment Package. With his return, the community was hopeful of their return to their roots. 12 years on, Kashmiri Pandit community is again at crossroads. None of these employees is now willing to live in the valley. Nobody knows who will be the next target. In Sheikhpura, Badgam, Nazir Masoodi, NDTV.
UAE President Sheikh Khalifa died at the age of 73. He was the president of the UAE since 2004. His role had largely been ceremonial since he suffered a stroke in 2014. The world's tallest star, the Burj Khalifa, is named after him. The UAE Ministry of Presidential Affairs has announced a 40-day mourning. Flags will fly at half-mast. Prime Minister Modi expressed his deep sadness to know about the passing of Sheikh Khalifa as well. India has declared a one-day national mourning on the demise of the President of the UAE and the ruler of Abu Dhabi.